ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz, and on this week's episode, we'll be talking about the movie The Last Voyage of the Demeter. But before we get to any of that, I'm joined today, of course, by Stowaway Nathaniel Gingrich.
What up, folks? I'm Stowaway Nathaniel. We're not
No
going.
one invited you to the podcast, Nathaniel.
Nope, I just joined one day. You found me under the boards, and
Right.
I was like, "Wow!" I
in the
just
cargo.
as you may have, may not have guessed, I happen to know a lot about movies, and much like this movie, you know, I might have some vital bits of information for you that I could drop in every now and then, and that's how I joined the podcast, folks.
Just fell out of a box of dirt.
That was it. Under the floorboards at Back Row HQ. We don't have a second story below us. There's just dirt.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a cargo hold.
Yeah. We thought.
Some call it a basement. We call it a cargo hold.
Yeah.
We call it, yeah.
Yeah.
Also
What are basements if not the cargo holds of houses?
You know what? That's not wrong, but it's also offensive because I do live in the basement of my parents' house. So
You live in the cargo hold.
I guess I'm the cargo.
Should your house ever be needed to be used as a ship, you are definitely in the cargo hold.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know when that'll be, but you know what? With climate change and the sea level rise,
The
you really never
year
know.
is 2028. Your house is your mobile ship.
Oh, jeez.
We have big treads on it, and it's the what was that, Mortal Instruments or Mortal Engines future, where your house has tire tracks underneath it. You're driving your city around.
Also joining us today is Vampire Tyler Verdalis.
I feel like maybe I should hiss or something. I don't know.
Blah, blah, blah,
This is the return. This is the return of Vampire Ty, of course. Also featured, I think, on the Renfield episode, right?
Could be.
I believe so.
See that or Blade?
I think that was it. It might have been both.
Could have been.
Could have been both.
All we need is a Twilight episode.
That's facts.
I was going to say, Ty could use the voice of, I'm sure you guys have seen The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Oh, yeah.
Ty might be a little bit too old for that. But,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Grim and Dracula, I think they're both Jamaican, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Wait, I remember that show. That was Cartoon Network, right?
Was indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of remember that show. I was very young when I watched it. I kind of gave me nightmares. I stopped watching it after a while.
I think that's why I fell in love with horror movies, to be honest. It's like that and Courage.
Really?
Courage, yeah.
Yeah, Courage would have been a big
all
one.
the time growing up.
The more you know. Also joining us today, that is, of course, Big Boat BlakeHolder.
Hey, what up?
You gonna need a bigger boat.
Where's that from?
Jaws.
Joss.
I've never seen Jaws, fellas. Scary to say out loud, but I've never seen it. Yeah, I know.
I think it's on. Is it on our short list? It is on our short list. We'll get around to
All
it.
somebody had to do was guess 4. We would have got it.
Yeah.
I needed like a window crash sound for me jumping out the window when I hear Blake hasn't seen Jaws.
Yeah, that's bad. Do you think that's worse than the Lord of the Rings?
I think Star Wars is the worst.
Like,
Star
as
Wars
a,
is the
I
worst.
forgot. Yeah, I got a few bad takes.
I was gonna
fellas.
say,
Never seen it.
as a movie fan, I feel like Jaws is the one that's a bit egregious, especially as a horror movie fan.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and it's
You don't like fantasy.
It doesn't necessarily fall into one of those fantasy genres that might not be up your alley. So those are bigger PIs for sure as far as Harry Potter and Star Wars and Lord of the Rings go, Jaws is just like you could watch
sure.
Jaws 1 and just be done with it. You don't ever have to
Right.
watch
Right.
any of the other ones.
In
Yeah,
fact, I
I
encourage
gotta-
you not to.
I would agree.
That one.
They just
But I'll save it for the pod though, fellas. I'll save the Jaws virginity. For the
Yeah. I
pod.
mean, you've gone this far.
At this point,
100%.
Yeah, you might as well hold off. Excuse me. All right. Well, with all that out of the way, I guess we can move on into the main review segment of the podcast. I'm getting thrown off being on Discord again.
You feel weird
because I had such a long streak in person on
It is
Mixer and
true.
everything.
We didn't
I'm
even
not-
address that actually. We are
Oh yeah.
We are split up this week because Back Row HQ has once more been infected by the COVID-19. Though I am okay. Was the other inhabitant of Back Row HQ has been taken down by
Have
the
you
COVID bug.
been back to work, or you just like been at home?
No, I came back today.
Oh, okay. What do you do? Oh, yeah, I guess you probably got to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we should go golf, but I'll just go
Dude,
fuck
I would
myself.
love to go golf. Actually, I've weirdly played a good amount of golf in August or late July, early August. So don't tempt me like that. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm very busy this weekend actually too. Anyways, that's an off-pod conversation. Did you introduce the segment, or are we at that point?
Not fully.
Okay.
But I am remote today, and it's just throwing me off.
Oh yeah,
'cause,
that's what it was. We were all thrown off because you're
there's-
not here now.
Yeah. Then there's extra delay that I don't remember being there, but it's definitely there.
You're
it's
just used
so
to
foreign
it.
to me. It's been a good
Yeah,
3
you're
months.
an
too
analog
comfortable.
boy in a digital world now.
I am. You're right. I'm so used to being locked in. You know.
Man, we're episode 159, one away from 160, folks.
That is how numbers work. Yeah. That's how it goes. All right, let's get into the main review segment here then. Nathaniel, if the listener here is new, or maybe if they've just forgotten, can you give them a rundown of how the review segment works?
What up, folks? If you're new, maybe you've forgotten how numbers work. Here on Back Row Banter, our review segment is divided up into 2 sections. There's the non-spoiler section, and then there's the spoiler section. It's pretty self-explanatory. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go over the movie's IMDb page, who wrote it, who directed it, who starred in it, all that good stuff. We'll go around the squadron, decide if we would recommend this movie. Has to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. And from then on, it'll be spoiler time. We'll play the spoiler noise if you don't want to have anything spoiled for you. Be sure to check the show notes where we'll have the time codes in the description for you. But overall, from then on, we'll be diving into our deeper thoughts about the movie itself, any big spoiler or plot twists at the time. And if you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, or even if you do have been listening through, do come back to see where it ranks up on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast ranked, and finish out the podcast with us. Adam, tell me about The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
I would love to. This is a new movie, of course, rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 58 minutes, and an IMDb rating of 6.5 out of 10. Directed by Andre Overdraw. Am I pronouncing that right? Ovidral?
Nailed it.
Overdraw? Do you know how to pronounce it?
No, that's why I said you nailed it.
Okay, because it's got the last name has an O with a line through it, which I didn't know was like an actual character you could use in real life. I thought that was like when something is supposed to be a 0, and you want to clarify.
Yeah.
I thought that's what that was for.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
know
know
you could
exactly
actually
what
use
you mean,
that.
Andre
of Overdraw.
I've read. That does this. How do you make that sound with your mouth? Of red draw. Of red draw.
Overdraw.
Maybe it's
I guess.
off draw.
I don't know.
Maybe that's off and off.
That's got to be some type of ethnic correlation, though, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I just have no idea what it is, though.
Me either, to be honest. Ovidral screams Scandinavian or something, Northern European to me, but
Yeah.
who knows? That being said, he has done The Autopsy of Jane Doe and what's the other one? Nathaniel, that Troll Hunter is the other big one that you were. Yeah, and scary stories to tell in the dark.
He is Norwegian.
There we go.
There we go. Shout out to Adam.
Cool. So yeah, I'm not too familiar with any of those films. Nathaniel, are you were talking about the director before we ended up seeing
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah. I've seen
familiar with his work?
I've seen The Autopsy of Jane Doe. It's one of my more enjoyable movies that I believe actually Blake recommended to me, but it was one of the ones that I came across on Netflix that I went into relatively blind and was quite pleasantly surprised by. Really enjoy Autopsy of Jane Doe, and I've heard nothing but good things about his other movie, which is Troll Hunter, I believe.
Right.
And not to put too fine a point on it, but I enjoyed this one too.
Okay.
But anyways,
where am I on IMDb here? Written by Bragi F. Schutt and Zach Olkowitz, and screen story is by Bragi F. Schutt as well, based on the chapter "The Captain's Log of Dracula" by Bram Stoker. The cast includes Corey Hawkins, Aisling Franciosi, Liam Cunningham, who some might know as Davos Seaworth from Game of Thrones, David Dastmalchian, friend of the pod. Dastmalchian, our boy. And I'll probably stop there. There's obviously some other actors here and there in the supporting cast, but no big names that I personally am recognizing. I think those are definitely going to be...
The only one I would shout out would be Javier Botet as Dracula himself.
Sure. Yeah, we'll leave it there. The IMDb summary reads as follows: a crew sailing from Carpathia to England find that... What is it?
Carpathia.
Okay. A crew sailing from Carpathia to England find that they are carrying very dangerous cargo. Good IMDb summary. I love it. Simple. Leave some suspense.
Just enough.
It doesn't even hint at it being Dracula. It's just dangerous cargo. If I went into this movie and that's all I knew, I'm intrigued and I'm hooked. So that's a good IMDb summary. That's all you need right there. That's S tier. Right there. Love it. Where's this movie land tier wise? Where are we thinking? Who's Nathaniel? You already hinted a little bit. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'll kick us off, I guess. I like this movie. I guess background for the boys. How do you feel about Draculas? Are you enjoying Dracula?
Vampires?
Yeah, vampires I guess as well too, but also the story of Dracula.
I'm always in on monster movies, and then just the cool thing about when you get these bigger name monsters, whether it's Frankenstein, like the werewolf, or Dracula in this case, it's always cool to kind of see the different iterations that you get between stories and origin stories and stuff like that. So I'm always down for these.
Yeah, I mean, I guess honestly, I don't want to say it's an introduction to Dracula for me, but I'm not super hyper aware of the character, I guess I have to say. Definitely understand like the concept of it and behind like in a horror sense. But like, for example, like I wouldn't have known the passage from a book until like reading up on the movie or until speaking to Nathaniel. So I guess I didn't as far as my knowledge, maybe like some video game adaptations I've played. Fucking Blade Trinity has a form of Dracula in it. I believe he actually goes by Drake in that movie.
Dracula.
I don't know what else have I seen Dracula in, and that really may be about it. And then like cartoon and like animation.
Sure.
So yeah, it was definitely interesting to me. Something that was on my radar, kind of popped up on screenings and showings the past few months. I was like, okay, that's something I want to go ahead and kind of dig into. So it was cool. About the film, I expected for the most part. I guess I wish it would have hit a little more beats harder, in my opinion. It's not a very scary movie, quote unquote, but I'm also a big horror fan. I guess I'm kind of
Yeah, so that was
biased
I
in
think
regard to that,
I
but
think that was
I don't
my
think it's scary at all.
I think that was my big kind of takeaway is that like as a person I've never been particularly frightened of vampires. Like they're not a monster in the classic sense that I find particularly frightening. Um and even then I read Dracula as a kid, like the abridged version, and then I remember reading it again and I think it was college that I finally read it.
Mm.
And then you know, and it's super weird as a book because it's entirely written in letters. Which as in written letters, not, you know, just words. All books are written in letters at a certain sense. But like it's what's known as an epistolary novel, i.e. it is written in diary entries, in letters back and forth to one another, in like logs, i.e. this movie takes place over what is known as the captain's log, which is a portion in the book Dracula where Dracula, after having settled on England as his next place of habitation, decides to try and follow the men, and he tries to follow Jonathan Harker to this area, to England, to move into his new abode over there, and does so by shipping himself and a bunch of crates of dirt over to England itself. And I believe, if I remember right, in the book, like he needs the dirt because he needs the dirt of his home country. He can't technically leave that area, so like he just gets around it by shipping the dirt with him, and then just like coats the floor
Okay.
of his new house with all of the dirt from his home country, basically.
Okay.
But yeah, so this movie itself is the story of that log, or of that journey, and which we've only ever known through the captain's log as it's been told to us in the novel. And this then kind of expands upon that. And obviously, the novel itself doesn't go as detailed as this. There's only really a few
Right.
things that like you kind of have to touchstone at the end of it, which we'll talk a little bit more about in spoilers. But yeah, and then it's really interesting in the movie itself. It starts with like the ship washing ashore in Whitby, which is the area in England that Bram Stoker, who wrote Dracula, is from. And also, like every year there, they have a big Dracula festival now as well too. And it's actually a town that I got to visit when I was living over there, and I got to go over near in the Abbey where he was writing Dracula and everything as well too, and it was pretty cool and definitely an interesting town overall. But this is a movie about Dracula on a boat, and I kind of dug it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Adam?
Yeah. My experience with Dracula, relatively limited. Renfield, of course, is a recent example.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
Beyond
How did I
that,
skip that? Good
yeah.
catch.
Beyond that, I just obviously know of the character, and I've seen like clips or like riffs on him, but I don't know if I've ever seen the original Dracula. I've definitely never read the book or anything like that, so my knowledge is rather limited.
Have either of
as a
you
whole.
seen the 92 Gary Oldman Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola, the movie?
No, I have
Certainly
not.
not.
Man.
Is that one good?
Yeah,
Worth a shot?
this is dope. It's horny Dracula. It's cool. It's got
Oh,
early 90s Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Keanu
Hey.
Reeves. Like,
hey.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
like, come on, guys. It's directed by the same guy that directed The Godfather. All the effects are in camera. It's awesome. Check it out.
Okay. Yeah, I may have to get to that one, man. You sold me.
So that being said, I am meh on this movie. Definitely not particularly scary, as you guys kind of touched on. But I'm not necessarily wanting it or needing it to be. But it just wasn't as scary as I thought it could be. I think you could have done so much more of this movie, and this feels like a very almost surface level execution of like what really this could have been. I feel like it just could have been left in the oven a little bit longer, and maybe things they could have done more with it. It just felt very surface
Yeah.
level into like the potential that was there for like such a cool story, and it was very open too. Like the concept of the captain's log, like just Dracula getting transported to England and then no one survived on that ship. Like that is very intriguing to me. Like I feel like you could do a lot of cool things there, and maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe they felt like they were a little limited with what or constrained by like the lack of information. But I think that's where you should really play up the story and everything, where it doesn't have to be dumbed down. Like anything could have happened on that ship. We don't know. And I think you should play with that limitless boundary rather than feel like you're constrained to like, oh well, it has to kind of look like this way. I don't know. I just feel like that more could be done, and even with what we got, there could have been done slightly differently too. Just it wasn't a hit for me fully. It's not a bad movie by any means. I definitely think it picks up quite a bit in the second half, which we can talk about in spoilers. And so I definitely left the last half of the movie or the second half of the movie definitely left me feeling better than the first half did. But I wasn't all the way in on this one, and it was a bit of a miss to me. I'm probably a not recommend on this one. Just not something you have to like rush out and go see or anything like that. If it's on a streaming service, of course, would check it out at that point. I mean, check out anything that's on a streaming service, So I'm probably a not recommending this one, which is unfortunate. But Ty.
I'm a recommend. I think that there's enough here to kind of satisfy, at least something new happening. I like the fact that they're on a ship. Anytime you kind of get one of those movies that has a smaller set, you definitely get to either have a little bit more character development, or they get to spend a little bit more time on making sure that that set is as good as it possibly can be, which I think they did a pretty decent job of, especially the set design and how detailed it was. Um, and then I thought some of the special effects was pretty good. I really like kind of these guys weren't pirates, but the fact that they're on a boat, you always kind of get a piratey feel. So pirates
Sure.
and Dracula, I'm always down for that. But yeah, I had fun with it. I definitely don't think it's on the scary side of things. I think it's more on the suspense side, and it's cool because it's more or less kind of like an origin story, or kind of him starting over in a new place. Obviously, like the transportation portion of it. So he's obviously trying to get away from where his origins actually take place. I think it could have been beneficial either way to either maybe actually have a true origin story of where that homeland was, and then how he kind of came to be, or what was kind of happening there. Excuse me. But like I said, I'm down for Dracula on a boat. And yeah, I had fun with it. It's not the greatest movie in the world, but I definitely had fun with it for what it is.
I think it might actually be an origin story, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in spoilers. But I also agree with a lot of your points you were saying. I really like that it had the one location where you're limited with them being on the boat. It automatically gives you a reason for why they can't just leave. And like, which is always the problem with the haunted house movies or any home invasion movie. Get out of the house.
Yep.
But the question I wanted to ask too, as well, is, can a movie be a horror movie, i.e., it's in the horror genre, and not be scary but still be good? Like, can you just have a movie that's a pretty good movie and like has the horror signs, signifiers, trappings, beats, but isn't scary and still just enjoy it for what it is? Like, does it have to
I
be
think
scary?
so. I also think you're gonna get the sick people like us who just enjoy horror movies,
Right,
whether
sure.
they're scary to us or not. Like, we're just gonna thoroughly enjoy the plot of it and try and figure out other movie aspects, just versus us being scared.
Right.
I can't wait for the day where we get a horror movie and I do kind of get those chills again, like I did with
Right,
like the
right.
first time of like doing like Paranormal Activity and shit like that. Like when a movie can hit me like that, then there's a different argument for why it was good for me.
Sure.
This is just good because I enjoyed, like I said, the set,
The
character
hits.
design,
Yeah,
and
you
stuff like
you
that.
kind of
And so
enjoy
yeah, there's
enjoy
but
the
yeah, we're sick. We're sick human beings, and we just like horror movies. So
well, and you enjoy the elements about it, like there's parts of the Dracula story or the Dracula myth where you're like, oh, cool, like I want to see how they're gonna like, bring that to life, or
or like his design. There's
yeah,
obviously
exactly.
plenty of different designs for Dracula, and it's cool to kind of see how everybody like. There's been
There's
ones with like him just being able to float because he can
right.
fly. Yeah, but and so like
there's
so, yeah, it's cool.
there's one line in this movie that I really want to talk about, and spoilers once we get there as well too, that I thought was really interesting as well. But yeah, I'm a recommend. I don't know if I came out officially on that side as well too. So I know Tyler and I are both recommends. Adam, you are firmly in the not recommend camp.
Pretty firm not recommend. Yeah.
Okay. How was Papa Schwartz? Where did he land? Because he did see this with us.
He landed not recommend from what I remember. You want me to ask him real quick? He's right outside the door.
Yeah, ask him what his vote is and what his relationship with Dracula is.
Hey, Dad. Pod wants to know: are you a not recommend for Voyage of the Demeter? He's not a recommend.
That's a leading question. Hey, are you a not recommend for this? By the way.
Yeah, way to close the door on that.
They're mad that I said I phrased it that way. Are you a recommend or a not recommend?
There's no nuance in the internet. I am not a recommend.
Oh, well, there he goes.
All right, thanks. You heard it here first, folks.
This Papa Schwartz review brought to you
Papa
by.
Schwartz. Brought to you by who? Nathaniel, finish it out. Who's it brought to you by?
KYOT.
Hefty.
The Coyote. Smooth jazz.
Love it.
99.9.
Okay, so that's two not recommends, two recommends, and I think Blake's was he a recommend? Did he say it before? He had to step away. Did he say recommend?
I don't know if he did or not.
I don't know if he did either, but we can ask him when he gets back. But I would let's guess. I think he's going to be a recommend.
Yeah, I'll go for
I think
a
he would
recommend.
be a recommend as well. Based on his non-spoiler thoughts, he seemed pretty okay on it. So, all right. Well, with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and head into spoilers. So, if you've not seen the Last Voyage of the Demeter, I almost said Dracula. The Last Voyage of the Demeter, go ahead and check the episode description. I've left a timestamp you can jump to where you'll be taken to our ranking of the movie up upon our glorious Entropy list. Nathaniel, spoiler time, please.
Spoilers.
Shit goes down.
That was spookier than this entire movie.
Whoa, bro. Why are you hating?
Because man, I was pretty let down here. I don't know. I just felt like the concept here is so good, and I feel like there's so much you could do here, and I just, like I said in non-spoilers, it just felt half-baked. Like, cook a little bit more, like think a little more creatively here. Just everything that happened just felt,
I think,
so surface level.
I genuinely wonder if that's part of like you are trying to like tie it in with the Dracula story outside of it, so you can only go so far in either direction. And I thought they played really nice within the sandbox that they kind of had, that they created for themselves. But I understand where you're coming from. But I also wonder if you're like, if you would have been more happy with like, a vampire on a boat rather than the Dracula on a boat as it's fit into the rest of the story.
I guess, yes. I guess I am missing that context, and that could be affecting me in some ways. But I don't necessarily know. I think just any vampire on the boat. I think the fact that it's Dracula is cool, and I like the idea of it's like, oh, you have to, everyone knows Dracula, but he had to get to London somehow, like that kind of thing. Like, that's all really cool. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I was just hoping for, and it's not even just like the story elements of Dracula. It's just more the characters on the boat and stuff. Just
Okay.
no one, the bites on the animals, like, and then it just one after the other just felt like people should be catching on. And I think I want my movies, I like when they treat the audience smart and the characters in the movie as smart, and like they can adapt, and like then you got to write
Oh,
just
man.
around that, you know.
Like I get it, but I also like. I feel like the argument against that is just that like the characters themselves don't know what a vampire is. They have no fucking idea.
That's,
you know,
that's valid. That's
like
valid.
they've never come across anything like that. Like I love that bit in the movie where the girl, the stowaway that they find, they're like, well, how do we kill it? She's like, if I knew how to fucking kill it, I would have done it already. Like, we've had this thing for forever. Yeah. Like, we can't get rid of this fucking guy. If we don't know what to do. We're fucked, you know? But continue, Adam. I'm sorry. I'm not just disagreeing with you.
No, you're fine. No, I just, even with that granted, in the terms of like, they don't know it's a vampire, just, it felt like they were just very slow to realize what exactly, like to fully comprehend the danger of it. And even after she comes, like the girl comes out and like kind of explains like what's going on, they still seem like, nah, it's probably just like one of this thing. And like David Dastmalchian's character was the worst of it for me, where it's just like, eventually, dude, like you should be coming around to this idea, and they redeemed themselves a little bit, where in the second half of the film, when like it was like, oh, this is why he's so distraught. It's like, this is his boat, and he was about to inherit his captainship, and you know, he's having a hard time giving that up, because if this voyage fails, and so does, you know, everything he's worked towards, all that stuff. Like, that's cool, but just the characters themselves, it just felt very slow to understand. And just, it was just a little frustrating to watch. That was the biggest thing for me. The second half did redeem itself a little bit in that regard, where things started to pick up more. But the first half just felt like, holy crap! Like, someone please just understand the situation a little bit more. Because I get what you're saying, Nathaniel. Obviously, they don't know what a vampire is. Like, why would they? And I think they do a good job of making that clear. Like, oh, they wouldn't know what to do, and like neither would you. But eventually, I think there's a point where that crosses a line. It's just like, at this point, I think I would understand that there's something we need to be doing, and they just take so long to act on everything, you know.
I guess that I understand where you're coming from. I guess in my mind, maybe what I would point to in the script or in the kind of plot of the movie itself as like a tangible detail of why that might be occurring is like, they want to hit the one a night kind of like setup that they had set for themselves. So they almost, I wonder if they just kind of wrote themselves into a corner a little bit in that sense, where you have to drag it out a little bit more just for
you do have to drag it out, and
for the plot to make sense in that sense, you know.
They almost get around it with he's rationing,
right? Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's a cool thing, and that did redeem the movie. It redeemed itself a little bit on that front.
Yeah. But I understand where you're coming from.
That makes up for the fact that I felt like this was dumb and annoying. Like,
yeah, that solves it.
How long everything was taking.
It solves it for his side of the equation, but not necessarily why the characters are still acting.
Exactly.
In your opinion, kind of dumb about it. Yeah. I get it. I get where you're coming from there. I think that's going to be your mileage will vary on a personal level kind of thing in some ways, but I also understand where you're coming from on that side of things.
And maybe it bothered me more than it should have, but that's just where I was at.
No, I think that makes sense. I think that's like, I think that's a thing to, or a clean thing to hold on to, a gripe to have, a criticism to have, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Blake, how are your feelings on the movie itself? We're into spoilers as well too.
Yeah.
But were you a recommend?
Tough, man. Honestly, probably not.
Okay.
Oh.
Not saying that I don't think it's a solid horror film. That's
to
tough.
bring you up to speed. I also argued for horror movies that aren't necessarily scary but are still good as horror movies. And I said that this is like a version of that, where it hits all the beats and does all the stuff, but it's not necessarily scary, but it's still like a cool example of the horror genre and like a classic in that genre.
Yeah, but I guess I hear you on that, right? Because this is something that, upon my watch, is like quote unquote horror friendly. Or you could bring somebody to this who doesn't want to watch like Martyrs,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And
right.
watch this and be like, okay, this
Or
is actually
Saw
pretty cool. You know
or
what I mean?
something.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
So it definitely has that redeeming quality to it. But I guess kind of what I'm looking at it from my perspective, top down, is in terms of where's horror is in today's market, as well as with like Talk to Me being out. Anybody who wants to watch a horror movie should probably just go watch Talk to Me. And I guess I haven't seen that yet, so I can't really speak to that entirely. But kind of from the rumblings that I've seen so far on the internet and in the if you were kind of wagering between the two, I'd go with that. As well as if you wanted to see a vampire movie that maybe isn't as horror friendly. So maybe kind of some more adult themes, some more gore. I would just turn on 30 Days of Night. Maybe doesn't have Dracula in it, but in my opinion, one of the better vampire adaptations. Jumping to spoilers, so I was trying to catch up to where you guys were, so that's not like and it was more so, did I hear you guys kind of bring up about obviously how most of the events are occurring at nighttime? Is that kind of what I was?
We didn't really talk about that a little bit so much as like we were talking. Adam kind of like bucked against the fact that it was the characters took a long time to kind of organize around the fact that something was happening and that people were missing and that like they kind of needed to get on their horses quicker than they kind of did. And I was saying, yeah, I understand that, and in some ways, you know, I think part of that is they don't know it's a vampire. They have no idea. They've never come across one, obviously, and we all kind of agreed on that. But all the other thing is like, from a writing standpoint, they like want to go the one a night type thing, and they kind of like work themselves into a corner on that side of things. And then we said, you know, they almost kind of get away with it with him saying later on that, oh, he's rationing and that kind of thing. But, you know, it solves it from the Dracula side, but it doesn't necessarily solve it from the why are they so slow to react on it kind of side of things.
Right.
But then I was just we were just kind of talking overall more deeply in spoilers. I had 2 or 3 things I want to bring up later, but I want to hear your thoughts as well too on just you know, the film at a deeper level.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are all valid points too. Kind of watching it, it was more so, man, that they're definitely being picked apart, and it definitely seems kind of slow. I mean, I guess I would word it this way. Maybe not slow in terms of like pacing, because I do think it goes well with you kind of get some character development between the characters and you're watching them get picked off.
Sure.
But I do think there's a cut of this film somewhere that's like that's 90 minutes.
Sure. Okay.
You know what I mean? And I do think that probably does have better pacing, right? You may miss a little dialogue, right? Kind of may miss some of the I guess like quote unquote cinematic shots or like back pieces, but it's like, I don't know if this movie really had to be an hour 59 minutes or something like that. Let's call it.
I think it was like 153, but like I mean, even then, at least it's not like a 3-hour movie.
That's true.
That's true.
And I will admit there is one crew member that there's 2 guys that I thought were the same character. Like it's like the second guy to die and like the like second or third last to die or whatever. That like I thought they were like the same guy. And I was like, well, there's one guy you could have just deleted out of the script.
For sure,
you know, but also to Tyler's point, I didn't necessarily feel like it was too long. There was one point in there where I was kind of like, okay, like we need to shift into the third act here kind of thing, or you know.
Yeah, the only thing that I didn't overly care for was we searched the boat. We searched the boat again.
Yeah.
Why the fuck is not checking the crates something that you did to begin with? Like that would have been like one of my things.
I think that's supposed to be that like it's hidden more behind the other crates, but like you have to have room to get the camera in there too, which just makes you be like, oh well, like why do you not see this one? But yeah, I felt that too in some points.
Also, they eventually opened his crate and they were like, oh cool, we know where he comes back to. Why not check in the daytime.
And that was going to be my point.
That's a
'cause
good
When I
point.
came back, I
Yeah.
thought I overheard you
Fair
guys
enough.
talking about how most of the events happen at nighttime. And I was going to be like, at one point, they do locate the crate. Then it's like,
Yeah.
why the fuck wouldn't they just burn that bitch during the day? And I
Wouldn't
guess
they,
that's like such a
right?
logical option, being
That's a
aware
good
of like,
point.
vampires
Yeah.
and shit like that. But it's like, that was just mind blowing.
Yeah.
Well, but at that point, hadn't the
don't
first
know.
guy already burned?
They had. I mean, I think that's technically the last day that they like find his
might have
his
been.
joint.
okay.
Like
So-
I
But
do-
still, like then like back to like one of our original points, they don't know what a vampire is, so they don't know
Right.
how
No,
to
of
kill this thing. So they
Yeah.
don't know that getting rid of that crate to begin with is something that would be a solution. So,
Right.
which
but I mean, one of the other factors too that I think that this movie that bodes well for this movie is the gore factor. I mean,
Yeah.
they do not shy
Yeah.
away from
Yeah.
anything,
Facts.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's fucking dope.
They kill a
to,
kid.
like, and
they
and
kill
I
a
like the
kid.
yeah, I
They
know. I
do
was-
kill the kid, which I
that's what
was.
I was gonna say. I'm glad that they're not
incredibly shocked
afraid
by.
to just kill people.
We
They
are
like,
advocates of killing children. on this
Oh,
podcast.
Jesus. Jesus.
If for horror, for the horror movie's sake.
Holy
sure.
crap.
Yeah, we go ahead and clip that one in.
Just let it be
But-
known, back row banter.
Well, same thing with like animals. Like you
Yeah.
definitely see like
Yeah, they kill the
some
dog, too.
movies maybe get away from the dog. Like they would be like,
sure.
maybe let's not kill the dog. They fucking
Yeah,
rip that
for sure.
motherfucker up. So I'm
Yeah.
like, bet. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm glad that they didn't shy away from that stuff at all.
I really
agree.
liked that they were like, hey, this dude is not a person. He is a beast
Mhm.
that can take the form of a man. Like, I
Yeah.
like that idea of like, no, that's a creature that like can
Mhm.
like kind of hide as a human, and like he's not gonna look right. He's not gonna look like a sexy human, but he's just
Right.
gonna be like he can hide
He's
amongst them
passable.
if he has to. Yeah, exactly.
Especially
then-
at that time period. A lot of ugly people.
Well, yeah, tons of uggos,
Yeah.
tons of uggos in the
Yeah.
1800s. I
Right.
I really like that idea. The other thing I think too is like, guys, I think this might be a backdoor pilot for a Black Van Helsing, which would be pretty fucking sick
Yeah.
if I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. Like
Yeah.
if we're talking like sequel and we got Corey Hawkins on there as Black Van Helsing, I'm
Hey,
not gonna lie.
I
it's
did like
pretty
him. He
sick.
was pretty good.
Yeah,
in this.
he's good. He's good.
So-
And the acting would say is actually a pretty good for the most part.
Yeah.
Between especially the big three of Davos's name, I forgot.
Liam
Liam
Cunningham.
David Alsmachian, and Corey Hawkins all killed it. And Aisling, friend,
I think that's
Franciosi?
Francois.
Francoisi. Oh, that would look right. I don't know.
She's
But even for the
or New Zealand Kiwi. She's in the movie The Nightingale, which I think I talked
Yes.
about early on pod. Have you seen that, Blake?
We've also talked about that. Yeah, we have. I think we talked about that at the store. This
That
probably
movie
goes back
is
like 2019.
Rough.
Great movie.
It's so good, but yeah, that is
Yeah.
a tough watch, and
I'm
she's great.
surprised that's not on our short list. But she's awesome in that. And when I realized she was in, it was once again that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
it was one of those. Yeah.
oh
you know?
shit,
She's awesome.
she's
though. I like her.
she's Lyanna Stark in Game of
Oh,
Thrones.
sure.
Oh, see,
The original. Yeah, she's the original
not in
Stark.
on
She's
that.
only in like 2 episodes in flashbacks.
I got you. Yeah.
But she's like in the storyline, Blake, of Game of Thrones. She's kind of
Okay.
like one of like the characters to start hundreds of years, or like years before, not hundreds, but years before the original plot of the show. Like the backstory for all the characters, she's like in the OG backstory for a lot of the
she
of
kicked
the episodes
off.
of the show, basically.
Kicked off a
Yeah.
lot
So
of
she's in like
violence.
2 flashbacks, huh?
Mhm.
So she kicked off a lot of violence.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah. She's good.
But
She's-
anyways,
she's
yeah,
good in
she's a
this
great
movie, too.
actress, and she was good in this too. And similar to Blake, I had also when David Dalsmalchian came on the screen, we did the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood Leonardo
Yeah.
DiCaprio
Mm-hmm.
click and
Yeah.
point meme.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, our boy was there again. But yeah, I don't know, man. I understand and I agree with all of your criticisms, which I think are valid, but I also just had a good time with this one, and it just kind of hit an itch
Yeah.
and scratched an itch I didn't necessarily know I was having, which I think was like a fun vampire Dracula movie. Even though we did have Renfield, but I'd prefer this over Renfield.
I definitely
so
prefer this
would
over
I.
Renfield.
So would
I
I.
would agree.
Renfield was much more, also horror friendly, but more horror adjacent. Like, I wouldn't really.
That was more of like a
Um,
Deadpool than anything. I wouldn't really call
yeah.
that
But
horror.
yeah, I really liked
Um,
I liked the depiction of Dracula in this as this like kind of weird creature thing that
It
just kind of
was,
showed
yeah,
up in the
some
background.
Voldemort-y.
Oh
How do you all
man.
feel about kind of the aspect of Dracula being a beast and like how he can like what's the word I'm looking for? Like the more he feeds, he can like change
Yeah, no, I'm into it.
appearance type thing. Yeah, like that was actually cool too.
It's very mummy-esque.
Yeah.
He gets
Yeah.
more powerful the more he feeds.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
more he regenerates. Yeah, was pretty down for that. Yeah.
I was into it. I liked all of the crew, the like weird varied crew that they had around there and the different guys that were with them. I liked the burn effect when they got the sunlight on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty shocking to me. I wasn't expecting them to go all out like that, and it kind of came pretty quick in terms of like how they brought that up, because all this he's just like kind of chained there, and then really quickly he's like, it burns, and you're like, what the hell? And then he's just on fire, and I was like, oh crap! I did not
Yeah,
expect. I just it came out
that's-
of nowhere for me a little
That's
bit.
something
I should have expected it.
that's something that Andre Overdal is good at. He's very good at like taking scenes that feel very natural and then escalating them quickly into feeling very out of control and very like, oh man, things are in a weird place that we did not anticipate it being 5 seconds ago. Which I think you get in a couple different times throughout this movie, particularly the guy lighting, the Romanian gentleman that was lit on fire, spontaneously combusted.
Olgren.
Yeah, and then the kid, I thought that was great. Him coming back on Liam Cunningham, and then him being lit on fire as well too, and like that was nutty. To Tyler's point, I think the gore and the effects were really well done in this. I think the makeup on Javier Botet as Dracula is really cool.
Yeah, definitely want to give some credit to that.
Yeah,
And using practical effects on a few, not
Man.
even a few shots, more than a few shots.
yeah, like the whole boat
Very,
and
very
everything.
appreciated.
I really appreciate that as a set and like as a bottle episode. Like it's a cool concept. You know, I get Adam's point of like you could really go anywhere with this and you could really make it, something insane, but I don't know, like for me this just I'm thankful for what we got in some ways.
I also
Like-
think they're saving a little bit. I think they definitely
I
left
think
it
they-
open for a potential sequel and to see where it goes, and I'm not terribly mad at it.
That's what I say. I agree, Tyler. I think they did a decent job with that. There's a little bit of me where like at the end I was like, really, we're like setting up a sequel, but also fuck it too. Like I'm kind of in, and again, Corey Hawkins, Black Van Helsing, that'd be sick.
I hear you.
What is his name in there? Clemens. I thought like
Clemens.
there's a point where he was like, oh yeah, I went to a Romanian court and I was the court doctor there. And I thought like at the end we were gonna be like, they gave me a name, Van Helsing. But
That'd be cheesy, but pretty funny for sure.
dude, I was preparing for it. Yeah, I'm in.
I agree.
Yeah, this one it's weird, man. It falls like in a limbo to me. I know I went on pod earlier and noted that I probably wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, it's weird. I still think it's good. I do think this film works, like I said, for people who aren't like huge horror heads. But yeah, man, it's interesting. I think I'll have different opinion on this as time goes on. Right. And just kind of with the lack of Dracula we have in the horror space, I'll probably go on to appreciate it a little bit more. But yeah, as of now, not horrible, not my favorite. Not the worst, but yeah, definitely interesting. Curious to know where we're gonna rank this.
Yeah, it might
I
be a
went in
little
with
split here.
Pretty high. Yeah, I went in with like decently high expectations. I did try to ground them because I didn't hear anything like overboard upon release of like, oh, this is excellent. You know what I mean? I didn't really hear any of but definitely went in with like relatively high expectations, kind of similar to how I went in to go watch Antler, where I was like, okay, this is
Right.
one I've kind of seen on the docket for a few months. Pretty cool concept, good cast. I'm in. You know what I mean? And Antler just kind of shit the bed for me a little bit. So this one definitely did not fall that short. I would say that much.
I would say, yeah, I was more pleased coming out of this one than I was with
Without a doubt.
Antlers, I would say. Yeah,
Without a doubt.
I'm with you on that one. Question for you guys. Did
up?
you know how they when they were recruiting for crewmen at the beginning of the film, there's that dude with like the bad eye?
Yeah.
Do we think, based on the makeup of how the other vampires looked, was he like half vampire, you think?
No, I think he just had a bad eye.
Was that foreshadowing?
I don't know. I didn't look that
No.
deep into it. You may be onto something. I guess I would
I
have to
just-
like rewatch that.
Wait,
and, like,
wait.
pick up on other cues.
Hold on. Let me.
What up?
I'm attuning with the master's
Okay.
degree. Let me
Okay.
give me a second. Let me.
For audio listeners, Nathaniel has his eyes closed. He's waving his arm in the air, and he's got one hand over one of his ears.
Yes, yes.
Like he's really just
Yes, I
trying to block out all the
understand.
sound.
I
Yes.
understand.
This
I
is
think
how
he just lit
summons all the
incense.
information.
Yeah, I think he just lit incense. Yeah, I don't know.
The clouded eye represents not only the
Oh,
danger
God.
to come, but also the blind prophet, as he is the one that sees further. He is the one that sees what they cannot. That the boxes on board actually house a hidden danger overall. So really,
Mm.
this man knows more than anyone else in the film, and we should all heed his warning. But that's the call of adventure. Scene. Sorry. Oh, I
Give me
I blacked
snaps.
I
Give me
blacked out
snaps.
there, guys.
Yeah.
How long has it been? How long?
It's been 3 days, Nathaniel. We've been trying to end this podcast
Oh,
for
I'm
3
so
days.
sorry.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
at least we know there's enough space on the card if we've been recording for 3 days.
True, yeah. It's a good thing we
Checks to see if we're still recording.
good thing we reformatted it last week, or was that 2 weeks ago now?
2 weeks ago now. That was Barbie. Yep. Okay. Well, with all that being said, and with the prophet being revealed, let's head on out of spoilers. Welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment of the podcast. We're going to go ahead and throw the last voyage of the Demeter up upon the Entropy list. For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is our big list of all the movies we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all on one fantastic list. If you'd like to reference the list for yourself, you can do so by checking the episode description, where it is linked to my Letterboxd. Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Apparently,
Good movie title.
Apparently, this movie in other markets is being marketed as Dracula, the Voyage of the Demeter.
Oh.
Yeah, just right on. Says
I don't
what it
like
is
that
on the
name.
tin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's way lame.
I do
Way
wonder, like,
lamer
if
than-
you got into this movie not knowing it was about Dracula, like, what your feelings.
That's what I'm
would be.
saying.
Yeah,
That
if you
IMDb
went-
summary left me just wanting more, man.
if you
Maybe
went
if I
in
had just gone
completely
in,
blind.
if I had just gone in with the IMDb summary, I might be putting this top 10. Who knows?
Who knows?
Expectations are everything. Anyone got any early shots? Renfield currently sits at 118. Oof, I'm sad. I said I like this more than that.
I think
'cause
this is
I don't know if I wanna
definitely
put it that high.
an over 100 film. There's a lot down there that I just don't care for, and again, we obviously think that there should be some things reshuffled.
Facts.
I would definitely put this above like Men, Evil Dead Rises. I think I had just more fun with this for sure. Insidious holds a special place in my heart. Obviously, so does Trick or Treat. But there's some other ones up there that I would probably put this in front of, like The Menu, Last Night in Soho. So I'll actually put it right with Trick or Treat, and Black Widow sucks and is too high. So I will put this at 94.
Okay. So between Trick or Treat and No Time to Die
Yeah.
for the listeners. I'm definitely above Renfield for sure. Then I kind of start browsing. I see Men at 108. I'm definitely like for sure. It's tough. Then I see Insidious is the 100 mark. Screams. What's that? Scream 6. Yeah. I don't care for Black Widow at all. I honestly, you know what? I think I'm actually going to sit it right where we set the film last week, and I'm going to sit this at 107.
Above or below Teenage
107.
Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I'm gonna put it above,
Above.
just because it does meet my horror itch at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, so weirdly enough, I almost completely agree with you, Blake. Not that, like, there's for reasons I would want to put this higher on the list, but, like, Blind Spotting is a better movie. Like, it is at the end of the day, and there's things about the other ones, like, for me, that I think are above this, that are above that spot that push this a little bit below it. And I think, as much as I do enjoy this movie, there's a lot out there, and there's a lot of Dracula movies too. So I'm gonna actually put this at 108, below Mutant Mayhem, above Men, though.
I am also right around where you guys are at, but I think I'm gonna put this below Men. I think Men. I think to man, who is the actor in that movie?
Rory.
Charlie Sheen.
Rory Kinnear. No.
It is Rory.
Rory Kinnear. Just his performance alone in that movie, I think we can't sub it too much for me. So I'm gonna put it below. Because I don't also, besides like the end of that movie, it's actually pretty good. And if we want to talk about horror, like that did make me did achieve some things in terms of its horror. I don't think it's as, I just don't think we left overly wowed by it. I don't think maybe that's why we don't think of it as highly, but I think kind of thinking back to everything that was in that movie, I don't mind it that much. So I'm going to put it at 109, below Men and above Ghostbusters Afterlife, because Ghostbusters Afterlife is very forgettable, and I can't even tell you the plot of that movie.
Men is completely forgettable. The
Both of
only
them
thing I remember from Men is that he is every character, and that and that his hand gets fucking like split down the middle. That's the only thing I remember from that movie.
You don't remember that guy rebirthing himself fucking 9 times in a row?
Ugh, that was so weird.
And all her different manifestations of toxic masculinity.
It's just fucking
Spoilers.
weird.
Hey, he executed. Tyler, what was your ranking again?
84, I think.
84. Wow, that's so high.
I like this movie.
Or sorry, 94.
I'm with him.
94.
I'm with him. I get it, but yeah, this movie's fun.
I think,
All
like
right.
Blake said, you'll look back on this movie. You'll do a couple rewatches over like the next 3 to 5 years. Maybe there'll be a second one, and you'll be like, you know what? This is actually pretty dope.
True.
I do think there could be some good rewatch here.
It you remember that the episode that came out for the second season of Love, Death, Robots, where they're the pirates on the boat and they got all the fucking weird creatures and shit like that?
Yeah.
Got those
I don't know
vibes.
if I watched the second season.
Impossible.
Yeah,
It is
I've never
awesome.
seen that show at all.
What's our average?
It's a good show.
Oh yeah, you should
Our
check it out.
average is
Blake.
104.5.
Uh-oh.
That's
Who's that with?
straight out of
That's
Compton.
a straight out of Compton tiebreak.
Oh, no.
Come
Funny
on,
enough,
come
also has my man in it,
Corey Hawkins.
Corey Hawkins. Yeah.
That
He's
is
back-
funny, actually.
He's back to back right now, fellas.
Genuinely, after
That
he was
is-
in that movie, I was like, this guy is going to be huge. And then he never really
Yeah.
took off.
Well, maybe this is it.
Maybe it
Maybe this
is.
is the one. He was good in this. He was great. All the acting was great.
I'm telling you, Black
That's not.
Van Helsing. Get it going.
I make him Blade for all I care. Mahershala Ali, and maybe he doesn't want to do anymore with all this
Ooh,
production.
baby
Who knows?
Blade.
I heard they're like close to tanking that fucking movie, fellas. That's actually sad.
It is sad.
That is
but
a bummer.
honestly, at this point, I feel like it's hurt. It's like taken away
Wait,
a couple
wait.
performances
Wait.
of Mahershala Ali.
Listen.
Yeah.
Hear me out. We get Mahershala. He plays Blade.
Nathaniel
Senior.
just lit more incense for the audio listeners. He's waving his hands around again. I don't know what's happening.
No. This is how you do Blade. You get Mahershala. You have him play Papa Blade. You get Corey. You have him play Baby Blade. But then you bring in the boy Guillermo del Toro to do his Blade, and then you set it in the Marvel universe, but like the What If universe where it's just separate. Just let the boy cook. Let the man
it's like
cook.
the Batman. But
Yes.
it's just
But
Blade.
it's like, but you got both those guys on it, and that's how we do Blade.
That
Got
would be awesome in theory.
And then there's a multiverse crossover directed by Michael Bay.
Sure, 10 years from now, but just let him do it now. Let him get it off the schedule, man. Let us get this thing out of there.
Let us clear it up. All right, good. We can do that. 104.5 above or below Straight Outta Compton here, fellas. What do you think?
You could put it below.
I'm good with the below.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, that's
cool
fine.
below too, for sure.
Cool. Man, this got above the blackening. Oh wow, that to me.
I see.
A little crazy.
I don't know. I think that's a fun duel between those two.
I don't. Yeah,
It is
I
a
don't
fun
think that's
duel.
I don't think that's a far stretch.
It's not that far, but it's the blackening. I think is better in my opinion. I had way more fun on that, but I also saw it twice and liked it a lot on the second time too.
Yeah,
so
that's one I probably should have rewatched for sure. I'll get to it
Yeah,
eventually.
but that's definitely one where you don't even need it. You don't need to see it in theaters twice. You'll watch
Yeah,
it on
right,
streaming
right.
service for
For
sure.
sure.
Yeah, you definitely didn't need to see that in theaters twice. I just happened to by almost accident. All right, fellas, that's it for the review segment here. Next week's review doesn't exist. We are going to be taking a week off next week. We all have, Tyler's busy with, getting married later that week, not on Tuesday. That'd be weird. And then I'll be out of town. And so between that, we figured we'd take a week off. The week after, Tyler's going to be busy getting remarried. No, just he's on his honeymoon. So we'll be doing a bit of sizzle between me, Nathaniel, and Blake. We're planning, as of now, scheduled to change potentially. But as of now, we're thinking of doing a bit of sizzle episode with the three of us for Talk to Me.
We hope.
Which, of course, we're a little late to, considering it came out a couple weeks ago. But we'll be checking that out, and we'll do a short little bit of sizzle ep for you guys. That'd be the week of, what did we say? That was the 25th, something like that? Or the week following this, so the 27th, 25th
Yes,
is your
sir.
wedding
Something
date,
like that.
Ty. So, so it's brief pause next week, and then join us in 2 weeks for Talk to Me, and then we'll be back from there. We just did the whole show schedule again. We got everything lined up for the next good bit here. It's looking like a good slate. I like the slate we have for the next couple few weeks. All right. What we're watching, I know it's late for us, but we are only like an hour into recording. If you guys want to do a quick round, if everyone wants to go around and maybe say one or two things. Nathaniel?
Fine with it.
Yeah, give me 1 sec. I was thinking about stuff this week, and I was trying to think of something that was just in culture that I had never really come across, and I decided to think about professional wrestling. And I've never been a guy that was ever into the WWE or any of that kind of stuff. And I watch a lot of fighting, but I don't really understand or get pro wrestling. So I decided to watch a documentary. I Googled the best wrestling documentaries, and I watched a documentary that was called Wrestling Shadows, the Bret the Hitman Hart story. And it was really interesting. It was all about kind of his life as he was making a transition out of the WWF, could have been the WWE at that time, and how he kind of got screwed over by the company. And they have it all on film, and it's pretty interesting. So, yeah, I watched that yesterday. It's on Tubi. Can recommend.
Tubi.
Tubi for the win. And, yeah, that was it. That's what I watched this week for the boys.
You're
Tyler, what you been
Blake?
watching?
Tyler? Tyler.
So I did a little bit of a vampire thing. I wanted to watch a movie that I hadn't watched, but still kind of had to do with like creatures, and it ended up being like it's the Jamie Foxx Netflix original Day
Oh.
Shift,
Sure.
and he's quite literally a vampire hunter, and it's passable.
Have you
it's
seen,
just one of those Netflix movies.
Have you seen Fright Night? 2011's Fright Night with Anton Yelchin and David Tennant?
Yep.
Yeah.
love
I
me
always
some
felt
David
like
Tennant.
I thought like that Day Shift movie looked like that, but worse.
Sure, yeah, yeah, I can agree with that.
Fair.
Yeah. That Day Shift movie is actually something I put on not too long ago when it first came out on Netflix, and I think I got through the first like 20 minutes, and I was like, yeah, because it opens like he's fighting like the old lady vampire, right?
Yep.
Like in the air,
Yep.
and it's a very long scene, bro. He's like fighting this lady, bro. Like bullshit. It's pretty long, and I was like,
Yeah, it's action packed, but it's just one of those movies that's just
yeah.
dumb, funny, stupid. The gore's pretty good. The fight scenes are halfway decent. Snoop Dogg's in it, so
Fair enough. Yeah.
Fair enough.
So, and like the spoiler alert, I don't care, but I don't think any of you are really gonna go back and watch this. But like and it's really not that bad. But Snoop Dogg, like the ending scene is literally Snoop Dogg like walking down the street lighting a blunt. So
Yeah.
I was like, and it's playing one of his songs
Hold
that I would
up.
assume he made either for the movie or they just use it for it. So that was like the very ending scene.
Right. Okay.
Smoke weed every day.
Oh.
So yeah, other than that, it's just been some YouTube stuff. My typical animes that I'm kind of going through and rewatching. As far as like Bleach goes, and then I've kind of touched on Initial D again, or playing around with the idea of going through it again.
Initial
so much.
D.
And so yeah, that's all I've been getting around to. Blake, what about you?
Got to a few things. Been watching Hard Knocks on HBO or Go. Trying to catch myself on
Max.
that now. So I've been
Max,
watching.
yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Max.
Yeah.
What I just say?
Yeah.
Go.
Go.
You said go.
No, I like that. Go's
Yeah, honestly, I can't blame you.
Go's
They've
a
had,
better
like,
name.
7 streaming services in the past
Yeah,
5
man.
years. And
So
you know
whatever.
what? It might have been a better name. You're right.
Whatever the purple square is on my screen.
Yeah, I
Like,
watched the purple one on my screen. That's the one.
So I've been watching Hard Knocks on there. That's with the New York Jets. Pretty good. So not too bad, but that's obviously kind of breaking down the NFL preseason training camp. things
Green
of
Bay
that nature.
East.
Yeah, something like that, man. Something like that. So it's been good, and you get to see like another side you usually don't see unless you watch like the Pat McAfee show and things of that nature, where
Yep.
people kind of paint him out to be an asshole, but he doesn't really seem to be that bad of a guy.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, so I'm watching that on Hard Knocks. So the next thing I started, and I got to finish it too because I started it way too late, was that Johnny Manziel doc on Netflix.
Oh, dude, I watched this too. I forgot I watched this.
Yeah, so I
I did
started
remember
that. It
watching
was
it.
pretty good because that's something like two of my
It's-
buddies brought up in our group chat. My dad talked to me
Yeah.
about it like over the weekend, and they were basically
It's
like,
good,
"Yeah,
dude.
he's fucking insane," which we kind of figured. You know what I mean? But
Oh,
they were
yeah.
like, "No, he was like, he's
No, it's
out there,
bad.
bro. Yeah, he's out there."
Yeah.
So I started it. It was interesting. The guy's got an interesting story for sure.
Oh, he
whether
does.
through,
But in the first half of that documentary too, because the first half is just kind of like, or like, there's a good like 15 to 20 minutes of it where it's just like Johnny Manziel in his prime was the man. Like he
Yeah.
was the man.
You could tell he
And
was.
they told the A&M Alabama story where he won in Tuscaloosa. And just dude, he was insane, and the way he like talks about that story too, but then it just kind of like goes on from there about the rest of his career, and it is sad from there too. But But yeah, dude, it was a good documentary. The first half had me hooked, and the second half I was just like, oh wow, this is a hell of a come down.
Yeah, so it's crazy. And like I said, once you factor in all that stuff happened when Texas A&M joined the SEC, they weren't projected to win the SEC by any means.
Yeah.
He basically kind of went and took that shit over as a freshman. So crazy. But yeah, I mean, I was kind of looking at that. Talked about his story there, his antics off the field, even leading up to his antics in the NFL. So like the one thing that was like mind blowing to me, I think it would be from anybody too who just follows football, not even
The 0 iPad hours.
That's unfucking believable,
Unreal.
bro.
Unreal.
And then to actually be the quarterback and put him out there, like it. Honestly, bro, I couldn't believe that shit. I was like, that's fucking unreal, bro. In college, I can like, you're still an asshole, but I can kind of see it. It's more impressive that you're able to do that and like win a Heisman. I'll give you that for sure. Like,
the fact that that too, 100%. He was watching no film in college and he was able to do all that he did. That's insane. Because
for sure,
dude, like imagine if he watched film.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I'm saying.
Then you think about that, like this guy got by with everything he was doing and he never knew what the defense was going to run against him. And maybe that's why it worked out so well, is like he didn't know what to anticipate and he wasn't trying to force one thing or another.
Maybe that's just winging it, bro.
It helped him. And maybe you just can't, when you don't know, when the quarterback doesn't know what he's going to do, the defense can't predict that. Maybe that worked into his favor, but in the NFL, 0 iPad hours.
Yeah, dude, you have no chance at producing any quality level of work. Yeah, which it showed because he went out there and like they horrendous. Horrendous. Yeah,
exactly.
So, yeah, mind blowing. That's when me and my dad kind of talked. Holy shit, I didn't know he was that off the deep end.
Yeah, and that's another one of those untold documentaries, which are just so good, dude. I've watched almost all of them at this point. They're all really good. They're all really like. You can kind of see the not all of them are like this, but some of them are really like, oh, you can see the angle they're trying to like push you towards in terms of like the story they want to tell, which is obviously something I kind of like. That kind of way of thinking about documentaries is something I picked up in that doc class. So maybe that's just me, but they're all really good. They're also really fun to watch, really entertaining. And there's a Jake Paul one out now that launched at the same time that I kind of want to check out.
Okay, so yeah, I've got to finish that. I know there's another one coming in the next few weeks.
Paul, the boxer, the professional boxer.
Stop.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, there's I got to finish the Manziel one, and there's another one that I actually really want to see too, and that's on like that 2008 Florida Gators team. That's got like Tim Tebow, Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
I don't think it's out yet though, but I believe that comes out in the next few weeks.
It's gotta be.
Which that's another crazy
hearing that
one,
was getting made. Yeah.
That team is a fucking unbelievable team on paper. Just in terms of the personalities on there. Urban Meyer was the head coach. We now know like Fondo's woman. It's a very strange team, but
when you look back at that roster, you were like, oh, these people are insane football like fanatics and football players.
Aren't they
like whatever? But then the personalities and everything that happened after the fact, just the fact that was all in one location.
Right, and they were able to win. It's just mind
wild. It's just wild to think about.
Don't they have like 5 murders as a team? Like,
it's crazy, bro. It's crazy between Aaron Hernandez, Janoris Jenkins was on that team. He's somebody who played in the NFL for a while, but like he ended up going to prison. I think he ended up beating the case because it didn't directly involve him, but like somebody like got murdered like on his property, like while he wasn't there.
Yeah,
like, it was just a crazy series of events of the amount of people who were all on that team, and then it was led by like the most like God-fearing Christian white man,
right?
Tim Tebow. Do you know what I mean? So it was crazy, man. So that'll definitely be a good doc when that comes out. I'm definitely
it will be.
Is he still kicking around some minor league organization?
I couldn't tell you. I know he tried to play baseball for a minute, after he got out the NFL.
Yeah, he did. I don't know what he's doing. I saw him the week the first home game Mizzou ever had while I was a student there. So my freshman
year, he was doing an analyst role too.
He did college. Yeah. We were at college football game day. We were like the feature one of the featured games of the week. So they have that traveling thing. Like it was Mizzou, West Virginia was the game of the week somehow. And so I was like parking my car. Or I had to move my car because my parking spot was in the my parking spot was next to the football field, and you had to move your car for games. And so I went to go move my car, and as I'm driving out of the lot, I just see like Tim Tebow like walking down the sidewalk, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that was about it.
So yeah, it'll be interesting, man. That's all I got to. Adam, you get to anything?
Yeah. Besides that,
Johnny
Johnny
Manziel doc?
Manziel. Jesus, yeah.
Manny Johnzell.
Manny Johnzell. Yep. Besides that one, I watched a Back Row Banter classic, the Graduate. Finally
Heyo.
got around to The Graduate, which of course was Back Row Banter's gift. That was just this last year, right? Nathaniel, have you seen this movie?
Yeah, of course.
It was way different than I was expecting.
Okay. In what way did you like it?
I did, but it was also like just so bizarre. It
Sure.
keeps going. Like the more I think about it, and like if you want to think about it in like the film theory sense of like how Mrs. Robinson doesn't want her daughter or him really to repeat the mistake she made, and that's why she's doing all like it kind of goes in a full circle almost. But just I was not expecting that, and that's also I think in the era or around the era of the unlikable protagonists that they were doing for a bit in Hollywood, and that definitely comes off because you don't really end up wanting to root for the main character in this film, and things still work out. So it's very bizarre. It just wasn't what I was expecting. But the more I think about it, the more I kind of like it.
One of the most famous final shots in all of cinema, the Graduate ending, because it's
the bus.
Yeah, where you get the happy ending, but then it's what comes next, and you
exactly.
You kind of see that dawn on their faces, and then it ends. Yeah, it's
that is a good shot. That is a great shot, and that is definitely good. It was a definitely great ending.
Yeah, Graduate's great. I really. Again, I think I had a similar feeling the first time I watched it of just not zigging when you expect it to zag, and being quite an unexpected movie overall. Yeah. Glad you got to see it finally, and I'm sure you'll watch it again too. And
I saw it the other day on my shelf, and I was like, I need to get around to that. So me and Papa Schwartz sat down the other night, and
what did Papa Schwartz say? Is he out there? Can we get a live look in?
I don't know where he is at this point. I don't know if he's still out there. He fell asleep for like half of it, and I don't know if he'd seen it before, so I never really got a full gauge of his
typical
thoughts,
dad move.
Yeah, that is
right. Yeah.
They get one of those a week, I think. That's allowed.
Right. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I watched. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but not really. What about it?
Great soundtrack.
Is that everybody then?
In that one, all Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah. It is a good soundtrack. It's weird thinking because those are songs I know pretty well at this point, but like that was like where they became known.
Yeah.
So it was weird watching in that sense where it's like, oh, I could imagine like as a viewer, like hearing this type of music for the first time is like very cool and interesting and like really works well. But like Hello Darkness, My Old Friend has been memed to oblivion at this point. So like the context and the meaning of the song for me just aren't there. So it's really bizarre like watching this movie and like hearing that and just knowing like all the memes that have kind of come from it since then, or just how it's kind of lost its original weight to like the actual meaning of the song and everything. It didn't hit the same for me as I can imagine it hit for someone watching it in whatever year that was, 69, 70.
Yeah, somewhere
around there. Later than that, somewhere around there. I think it was a little bit later than that, maybe late 70s. I don't know, whatever it was. But yeah, it was good. It was good. All right, I think that's gonna do it then for what we're watching. Go ahead, folks, and share the podcast. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Share the podcast. Share with a friend, a family member, a crewmate, or the one hunting you. I don't know, a stowaway. Who cares? While you're doing that, also make sure you give us a follow on social media. Of course, that's Twitter's Banter at Banter Row, Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod, and our YouTube is just Back Row Banter. Go send us an email as well if you'd like to. That's backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. BlakeHolder, where can the people find you at, my man?
Yo, Letterboxd, BlakeHolder. I'll be on there logging some things out of 5 stars. I believe I gave 3 to the Last Voyage of the Demeter. So we'll see. But yeah, if we can get that bit of sizzle up on Talk to Me, I'm sure I'll have some thoughts on that. Seems to be big in the horror community. Outside of that, Mortal Kombat beta is coming out. I forgot the actual release date for Mortal Kombat 1. I think it's like September 3rd or something.
Yeah, September.
Something like that. So looking forward to that. PlayStation, Xbox, Mr. Water Cooler. And that's all I got. We'll go popcorn Nathaniel.
What up, folks? You can find me at NS Gingrich on Letterboxd and Twitter. You can find me at NathanielG92 on Instagram. Sandpiper Tapes is my other podcast. Tyler, where can the people find you, Matt, my man?
Letterboxd, Instagram, and X, you idiots. All Tyler Vidal.
Twitter till I die, motherfucker. Twitter till I die.
Adam.
You can find me on twitter.com at H24, on Letterboxd at H, and I think that'll do it for me. Thank you all for listening to episode 159 here at Back Row Banter. Join us in 2 weeks for our review of Talk to Me. Thank you all for listening, especially if you made it this far into the episode. I really do appreciate it, and you are our favorite type of listener. Yeah, I think that'll do it. We'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll be RB.
Be excellent to each other, everyone, and we will be RB.
Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate your support, and just spread love, and we will be RB.
Thanks for listening as always. We appreciate it. We wouldn't be able to continue this podcast if it wasn't for you. So, yeah, we'll be RB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
Yo.
Hi, Blake.
What up, fellas? My bad for the drag. We had a bathroom emergency.
Bathroom
If you catch the
emergency.
drift.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Man.
Shit happens.
One of those days. Literally, one of those days.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I ate. Had a burrito for lunch.
Well, I
may
think
have-
that
may
probably
have been it.
solves your...
Yeah, that may have been it for sure. But it's usually my go-to place, or you know what I mean? You know,
Yeah, fair enough.
if you kind of got the right path. So it wasn't like I was trying anything new out the ordinary, but yeah, definitely got a weird batch
Yeah,
or something.
You never know. Could still strike you all at the same time. I was listening to a podcast episode recently about this bit in 1930s France where everyone in a whole town, or like 300 people, all started hallucinating at once, and they couldn't really figure out what the fuck was going on until they figured out it was the bread.
I kind of remember hearing this.
Yeah,
at some point.
there was a bakery that at this point all of the grain was controlled by the state, and it was all sent out. And this guy got a batch of grain that was a bit weird, but the hassle of like getting new grain was too great, so he used it anyway. Turned out it had a bunch of ergot in it, so he just made LSD basically. And
I was like, yeah, had the whole city tripping.
the whole city was tripping. Yeah, there was like people were thinking that they like were, flying, were, being chased by demons, where like this one guy thought like his stomach was full of snakes and they were trying to get out and stuff, and like, yeah, it was
Same.
crazy. Who knows, But yeah. Just goes to show mass food poisonings could still happen. They could happen to you, folks. So
When's the last time
Keep
you've
your
all
head
had
on a
food
swivel.
poisoning?
Probably like last year sometime.
I was gonna say, feels like
Really? I feel like it's been a minute for me.
Like
Yeah,
true,
it's been a little bit
like
for me.
true legit like food poisoning, not like my stomach just didn't agree with something.
Yeah,
day
right.
before.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's been probably a couple of years at this point. I've had it 2 times that I remember specifically. I think I've talked about one on the podcast before. But
I actually don't know if I've ever had like food poisoning.
Dude, it fucking
Like,
sucks.
because I've heard it's
It's
terrible, and I don't know if
terrible.
I've ever
Yeah.
had it that
It
bad.
just
I just might
go ahead.
go ahead. All right, I was gonna say I get like stomach indigestion pretty often, like cramps and whatnot, but
Oh, no.
nothing.
Yeah.
Like my digestive tract ain't the best, but like I've never felt like because everyone talks about food poisoning like it's the plague.
It just shuts you
And
down. It just straight up shuts you down for a day.
Maybe
or
when I
so.
was a kid, but I don't feel like since then. I can't remember a time where I was just that down bad, horrendous. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't had it. It's got to be north of probably like 5 or 6 years. But to Nathaniel's point, it's definitely you're down bad, man, for about 48 hours. Like
Yeah,
down
I've heard
tremendously bad.
Like
yeah.
not only does it like you either like throw up or just like shit yourself to death, but then it's like the day after it feels like it has taken all of the food out of your body for like the last 48
One of
hours.
those.
Like you're just
Got it.
you're so weak and you don't trust
Exhausted.
yourself to like
Yeah.
eat anything either because you just don't know what's gonna happen as well too.
Right. Interesting.
But anyways, yeah, that's food poisoning.